This is INDYCAR Radio.
Back home again in Indiana. Welcome to the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Mark Janes, Davey Hamilton among those set to take you through the next day at IMS, and get ready for all the activity that culminates in the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And Davey Hamilton, there is simply no place we'd rather.
I mean, May has started. It's here. I mean, look, little breast this.
That make up the Sanzio Grand Prix this weekend. They're hoping somebody, somehow, someway can slow down Alex Palou.
Yeah, wow, how about that? What a start. I mean, 3 firsts and 1 second out of the first 4. We went to the history book. You know, one of the all-time greatest starts, no question about it, and not just in just this season, but if you look at his overall start of the since he been in AJ Foyt. So I mean,
and we're 3 peats are not out of the question, but that gives you an idea that the drivers to pull it off 3 consecutive race. Bobby Rahal did it at Laguna Seca, and we had Al Unser Jr. and Sebastian Bourdais at Long Beach. That gives you an idea how long it's been since it's been pulled off.
That's right. And the 3s seem to be the number this year. Third in a row, his 4th championship in his young career really is pretty just amazing. And obviously Chip Ganassi and that team give him everything that he needs. He's on a roll right now. The confidence is up. These drivers, they all say kind of the same thing. Man, he's kicking our butt. We got to figure out how to beat this guy. So there's plenty of good guys in this pit area. That's going to happen, but he's the guy to watch for sure.
Well, he's been in his 10 starts. He's been in the Fast 6 5 times. He has 2 wins here, going for his 3rd consecutive win at the Sanzio Grand Prix. And in 10 starts, he has 6 top 10s and 3.
I mean, if you're going to Vegas, who are you going to bet on? It's going to be Palou, right? I mean, just no question about it. But, you know, Colton Herta, obviously very good here. The Penske cars have always ran really good here. This practice session really kind of tells a lot, and that means when you unload fast, it means you usually have a good weekend. Not saying that somebody that unloaded not that quick can't make the changes and get good.
But again, not only tire compounds, but tire usage will be front and center in terms of the discussion, because for this race, there's been a change. And 2 sets of primary compound tires will be required to be used in race.
Yeah, so that makes it interesting, because it really makes it a 3-stop strategy, really kind of point blank. It's just when are you going to run those tires and how long are you going to run them?
Yeah, and it's, you know, it's basically, Davey, pretty much always been a 3-stopper, so for all intents and purposes.
Stopper, same thing. It's just, like I say, instead of going a couple, you know, just running the reds 1 round or the primaries 1 round, you're going to be 2 of each, which it's going to be interesting. Now, the key is I think that we'll know after the session. Is the alternates going to be a little bit quicker? Are they going to last? Are they going to make it through a full stint? We'll soon find out.
No requirements, by the way, in terms.
Yeah, there you go, just reds and blacks.
Well, we're off to kind of a chilly start for this time of the year, but still, Chamber of Commerce weather here at the world's greatest race course, and to get the specifics on Boilermakers, our good friend, a longtime member of this radio network now. Welcome back to the IndyCar Radio Network, Rob Blackman.
Hey, Mark, thanks for the welcome back, and what a treat it is for me to be back. Boy, you're right about a Chamber of Commerce type of a day, Mark. Blue skies as far as the eye can see, but it is a bit of a cool May morning here in the city of Indianapolis. Right now, the ambient temperature is just 50. 70.7 degrees Fahrenheit, which is interesting to note because the track conditions and certainly Mother Nature will give us a much different type of a day later on this afternoon around 4:30 Eastern, when we'll begin qualifications, because around 4:30 we're expecting a temperature of around 66 to 67 degrees. So certainly it's going to look a lot different later this afternoon when it's time for qualifying than what we're seeing right here. Go down to my partner in crime down here working the pits, and that's Alex Wolf. Alex.
Well, Rob, you talk about those conditions, crisp and cool, almost a fall-like for the month of May, and below Scott McLaughlin, really everybody up here towards the front made their install laps, got the cowlings off, they're giving everything a good once-over, but they're going to wait Alex below, the 10 team, saying they might wait as. And also we talk about the tire allotment with these new pit stop rules for the Sanzio Grand Prix. Alex below, quite a few of the teams have a set of reds in the pit lane for this practice, if you will, of tires that should be going on the car.
Greatest spectacle in racing coming your way Sunday, May 25th. Coverage beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern on Fox. Right down now to pit lane and Georgia Henneberry.
As you alluded to, tradition so big here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can feel it in the air, the intensity starting to build. I have myself in Pagoda Plaza at the Yard of Bricks in front of the famed pagoda, and 16 days from now someone is going to be kissing these very bricks. Tradition so special here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But first, the Sanzio Grand Prix, and it all starts now. Guys?
Thank you so much. It is wonderful to be here at the racing capital of the world, and as we were discussing just a little earlier, the big question mark for everybody is how do you beat Alex Palou? Unquestionably one of the most impressive performers in the early part of the season. So too, though, this guy. Different livery for him this weekend. Christian Lundgaard has been desperately impressive. Podium after podium for his new team, McLaren.
Lundgaard, the most impressive driver of these opening races. There is the leader, Christian Lundgaard. Christian Lundgaard, what an excellent performance. Lundgaard back again and up on the inside. Wonderful driving. And he just said, see ya.
looks like Schwartzman. Through turn 1 and just all arms and elbows catching it and running off. Everybody on the hard tires. And guys, we're expecting everybody to run on the hard tires in this practice session. New rules this weekend, a trial this weekend. New rules as to how many tires of which particular compound you have to run in the race. Run it through us.
Well, first of all, you've got a different number of tires, period. You see the 5 sets of hards down to 4 sets of soft tires for the weekend. That's one slight adjustment from a normal weekend. That's actually standard for this weekend, a 2-day show here at the IndyGP. But the big difference is what you see at the bottom there. 2 sets of each tire must be used in the race. As we take a look there at Nolan Siegel, there's clearly a big bump there on the straight heading into turn 1 that's catching some of these drivers out with those left front locks. You see the front of the car bounce, unweights the car and locks the tire. But it goes to the, this tire rule that we're talking about. It is going to change the complexity, not just of the race, but of practice. Up to this point in the season, how it's worked is you've had 1 set of the soft tires that you had to run in first practice. Well, I guess you didn't have to run it, but you had to give it back. You couldn't run it again until warm-up. Now, with only 4 sets, they've removed that rule, so drivers can use them or not, basically whenever they want throughout the weekend. And what we're hearing is we might see drivers saving those reds, those soft tires, for qualifying and for the race, and we might not see any use of them in practice at all.
Well, think about it. If you're going to qualify in the Fast 6, you're going to need to use 3 sets of the soft red compounds, so that would leave you just 1 new set for the race, but there is no new tire requirement either. I think that's an important caveat, is if you use all your reds at some point in practice and qualifying, then you don't have to run a new set in the race. You can run, in theory, use reds for those 2 mandatory stints.
And if you're someone who is, invariably looking at trying to get out of that first part of qualifying but not quite able, you've now got that ability to run that extra set of softs because you don't have to hold a fresh set for the race.
And it is a soft race here, traditionally. Firestone bringing the exact same red sidewalled alternate compound here as we've had last year. The primary tire, the black sidewall tire, is same construction, a little bit of a harder compound as well. So that should maybe take a little bit of the grip away, but extend durability by a tiny bit. So it's again, as we've been saying all year, a lot of unanswered questions.
Let's not beat around the bush, though. It's not a universally popular decision, either with team owners or drivers, certainly that we've been talking to this weekend. Why is that?
I think the big thing is teams don't like decisions being taken out of their hands. They don't like being forced to do things. And in this case, you're being forced to run 2 sets of whatever the less preferred tire is, predictably going to be the hard compound. And teams don't like that. I think a lot of drivers are commending INDYCAR for trying to do something, willing to make an adjustment of some kind. But to your point, Will, I don't think this one was particularly well received.
And I don't think that changes in season are always that popular either, right? As the teams look to analyze the full championship and every weekend in the offseason, and they plan and they study, and then all of a sudden a curveball's thrown at them, maybe perhaps nobody more, I don't know if it's disappointed, but unhappy would be Alex Palou, right? Because you've got this freight train rolling down the tracks, the championship lead, you know exactly how you're going to handle every weekend, and then all of a sudden, where did this come from? All of a sudden, mid-championship. So if anybody's unhappy at the extreme side, I think it would be the 10 car of Alex Palou right there.
Current fastest driver, Louis Foster, the rookie, went well here last year in Indy Next, currently P1.
I'll put a little, more boost in that step when you come on there, and a little more confidence, and, you come here to win.
24 minutes left in this session. Santino Ferrucci among the fastest. Siegel is second quick, then Simpson, then Kirkwood, then Foster. Stingray, Rob, Marcus Erickson, Jacob Abel, Connor Daly, Colton Herta, Christian Rasmussen, and Robert Schwartzman among those who have turned laps. Barry Wanter's comments about how you figure out your tire compound, and that is in lockstep with what Brian Barnhart told me, who's calling shots for Nolan Siegel. Brian told me that very thing at Barber. He said, we try to answer questions in stages.
The official start of May is the Rev event here in Indianapolis. Ton of fun had by all. We couldn't go. We were in Barber.
Unfortunately, yeah, for the first year, not able to attend this event. It's a must-have ticket for everyone in the Indianapolis area. Great cause, raising money for the Infield Care Center here. IU Methodists involved, and partying on the front straight, DJ up in the flag stand, dancing on the bricks.
Love
Local
that.
restaurants come out. It's a phenomenal event. It's grown year in and year out, and we're seeing a little bit of a scuff mark there, I believe, on the 28 of
That
Marcus Ericsson.
White-walled from the white wall as Marcus Ericsson.
Yikes.
Pretty heavy angle there, but I gotta say that this early in the morning, you can see the sun hitting his windscreen.
It's behind him right there, but
Yeah.
it's one of those things, guys, as a driver from inside the cockpit, you're already looking at the apex curb of turn 12 as you approach the brake zone there. We've seen cars brush the wall there on the left many times on entry.
I went out and I did a couple of laps with Will Power yesterday, and one thing that's very, very noticeable at that part of the track is just how tight and narrow it is once you turn off the banking into those final couple of switch backs. How much do you have to, I mean, obviously not that much, but how much do you have to open that corner to get a proper line through
Well, you
there?
see the difference here is the approach, and Marcus Ericsson was on a pretty heavy angle to the brake zone. Really, I think what you want to do as you brake there for turn 12 is get squared up and parallel with the wall. Some drivers do it a little differently. You see Santino Ferrucci right there. And I'll go back to the sun because exiting turn 10, you're sort of looking into the rising sun, and then all of a sudden you're turning away, as you said, James, at your back. But the other thing is that the short chute of the oval right here is banked.
Right.
And you're coming off a flat infield road course. It looks like that brake zone is flat, but it is not. It is cambered quite a bit, and that throws some weird geometry at the car in the brake zone. So
See a car in the grass, I think, right there. Or is that just slowing down? Easy to drop wheels on the exit of 12 there, though. We see a lot of action there in the race. Single car, multi-car, pass attempts. We saw some elbows out racing last year with Santino Ferrucci and Romain Grosjean through there. As we ride on board Fifth Third Bank machine of Graham Rahal, who's had some impressive performances here over the years, even in some of the seasons when RLL was struggling a bit for pace. This seems to be a track that has suited these cars. We talked about Christian Lundgaard making his debut here in an RLL machine with some success. And Graham Rahal, you know, no stranger to being up front, been on the podium here before.
On the pole.
yeah, 2023 race 2, and back then I think he was running a two-stopper, and he was on his way to winning until a caution came out, finished second on the day.
I mean, look, for the team, 2020, 2022, 23, 24, that's a good run of podiums, good run of success here at the Indy GP course. So this is going to be a weekend where Graham, Louis, Dev, everyone on this team is going to be trying to put something together. And, you know, we saw Louis up top early, as we see Kiffin Simpson actually leading right now.
So we saw Marcus Ericsson get into the wall. Let's head down to pit lane with Georgia to learn more.
Yeah, and you can see the crew fixing the 28. They're not necessarily fixing it. They're just making their first set of routine changes, trying to get a better feel for Ericsson. They said after the scuff with the wall, no damage. This is just strictly routine for him to try to get a better feel in the seat.
Thank you so much. No top 10 finishes after his 6th place in the opening round of the season in St. Pete, slowly tumbling down the championship order, having started in 6th, obviously, having finished 6th in St. Pete, down to 13th in the championship as things stand. It is Simpson, fastest driver so far, Kiffin Simpson, who's had a real couple of standout races the last 2 contests that he's been in. Then Ferrucci, Siegel, Herta and Kirkwood. Will Power, all arms and elbows. Coming through here, a track that he loves. A winner no fewer than 5 times around this circuit, has been on pole, surprise, surprise, more than any other driver in history here. 6 pole positions for Will Power. He adores this track.
Well, let's see if we can go back on board and see how he does it and ride along with the Verizon driver. pretty tidy lap. Good enough for P8 so far.
Like you say, Power, this last corner, 14, it is so tricky. You're balancing it on the edge. It's flat out, but just. One of the things that's cool about Power, we talk about the hybrid system on these cars. Watch right here. You're going to see a little yellow light, I think, on the brakes there. That's an indication for Will that his hybrid system is charging. And anytime that he's off throttle on the brakes, you're going to see that yellow light. He's powering that hybrid system up. And then out of 4 here, watch those yellow lights. They're going to become green. That means he has hit the deployment button, and all the way down this back straight, he's burning some of those kilojoules, trying to get that hybrid system to give him that boost down the straight. Every driver having a little bit of a different layout, a little bit of a different system, different preferences, but I think Will's is really cool, really intuitive. I like how he's got it done.
I didn't see Will use his thumbs at all for deployment, so maybe it's trigger on the back, which is how I would prefer it. It just seems ergonomically a little bit better to keep the grip on the wheel. Meanwhile, we understand that Graham Rahal might have left the circuit.
His teammate, Devin DeFrancesco. And a replay here of Graham just running a little wide as we come into that turn 12, 13, 14 complex. Easy to do, particularly in this early morning light where it is still, I've got to say, bitter out there. It's freezing.
I'd argue that the infield grass at Indianapolis Motor Speedway is smoother than a lot of racetracks we go to. This place is just impeccably maintained and presented every time we show up. It looks like an NFL field. It is pristine.
Yeah, it's a nice treat when you drop some wheels off here. You don't have some of the painful jumps through the dirt that you sometimes have. Pato O'Ward, another driver we understand that has found his way off the racetrack and onto the immaculate grass. Let's take a look here into turn 12. So close to the wall, but just missing the apex there. Just dropping two wheels.
Scott McLaughlin, same place.
Rear lock up there.
You'd expect the grass to be well maintained around here. They've got a golf course in the middle of the circuit.
A very nice one.
A very nice one. A very tricky one.
On board the Sancio machine here and practicing for the Sancio Grand Prix. This is a race that he would love to have a strong result at.
And there we go. Guys out on the tee. Jack Nicklaus famously once asked if they could stop the cars running while he was teeing off. in this first part of the session. One driver who loves this track and goes pretty well here is our own Jack Hollywood Harvey, who is down in pit lane. Mate, we were talking about this last night. You've got a couple of little secrets up your sleeve of how you like to drive this place. Tell us about it.
Well, I always think people spend so much time saying, you know, what makes a good race car, what makes a fast race car, and obviously, you guys know, it's so track dependent. I always felt like I wanted the car to really rotate here, and everyone so far that you've kind of seen going off is having that, you know, late understeer, kind of just catching the exit grass there in 12. But my tolerance for the rear was always turn 4. You carry so much momentum into that corner, you've got to have a lot of platform control. What I mean by that was never trying to pitch the car too much and put it on the nose. And it also leads to, you know, the second longest straight. But I always just felt like turn 4 was my corner. And if I was good there, I knew I could put the rest of the lap together.
Love that. Thanks, Jack. Great insight.
Yeah, I mean, turn 4 is such a tricky corner because you're coming at it at an angle. It's a combined brake zone, so you're asking a lot of the front tires, but you're still laterally loaded. Kiffin Simpson here coming up to that corner. So you watch, you're hitting the brakes, you're kind of turning the whole time, though, so it's so easy for the back of the car to want to try to pass the front. So to Jack's point, if you could have a nice kind of stable entry there, but still good rotation mid-off, that was usually an indication you got a pretty nice setup window you were working with.
And if you're an engineer and you hear that, oh, nice stable entry and good front end and confident in the back, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I'll just turn those knobs.
Yeah, that's like when the engineer comes onto the driver and says, hey, we need you to save fuel, conserve your tires, and try to pass a couple cars. Oh, I'm sorry, is that all you like? Let me get right on that.
Surprise, surprise, man who's gone to the top, Alex Palou, 1 minute 9.985. Guys, we talk about the alternate line here, which is
the alternate start-finish line.
Yeah, your start and your finish for these laps, but not obviously the start and finish for the race itself. For those starting out in IndyCar, why is there an alternate line? Why is that taken during practice and qualifying as Jacob Abel just runs off there, facing the wrong way, but get himself going again?
Yeah, it's off of turn 10 on the exit there. Easy to do. Again, that's kind of an increasing radius on the exit, and you really push the limits there out at 10 to try to get this good run through 11 into 12 here, third longest straight on the track. And just got it wrong, but was able to keep going. Back to your point, Will, that alternate start-finish line, which we just saw Jacob Abel cross, it's all about saving time for the tracks. Essentially, it's so that at the end of a session, cars can dive straight into pit lane and not have to do a full cool-down lap, which if you have a busy race weekend schedule at a track like, say, St. Pete or Long Beach, when there's multiple series trying to turn around and get out there, it saves you 2-3 minutes every time the cars are out there.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea also because in qualifying, it gets somebody off the racetrack rather than circulating slowly when somebody else is on a lap as well. So it serves multiple benefits, and I guess it's something that we've become used to.
That's a really great point, actually. Getting somebody off the track when they've finished their push lap, they're on the slowdown lap. And I guess it means you can fuel that little bit less as well and ultimately get more time out of the car.
Yep. And here is the alt start finish line. So that's right in the middle of turn 11, heading up to turn 12 right there. So one of the challenges that the alt start finish line at this track in particular presents drivers is you essentially have to be, oh, we have a car stop. That's Rinus VK.
And he'd only just left to go and try and set a lap. He's only got one lap on the board.
That's out of turn 6 on the back straight there.
That'll be red, I'm sure.
Yeah, there it is. You see the indication, top of the pylon.
Where did he run out of fuel earlier this year? Everybody checked up behind him.
It was the Indy Open test.
Oh, it was the Open test.
It was the Open test. Yeah. Don't get me started on that.
Right, problem for VK out on track, but your championship leader, the fastest man so far, Alex Palou, P1.
6th. Kyle Kirkwood is 7th. Pato Award is 8th. Will Power is 9th. Alexander Rossi completes the top 10. 11th is Louis Foster. 12th is Felix Rosenquist. Scott Dixon, 13th fastest, then David Malukas. Connor Daly, Stingray Robb, Graham Rahal through 17th. 18th is Marcus Armstrong. 19th, Marcus Erickson. 20th, Scott McLaughlin. Christian Rasmussen is 21st. 22nd, Callum Eilert. 23rd is Devlin DiFrancesco. 24th is Abel. 25th is Newgarden. VK is 26th. Or Checa Schwartzman is 26th. And VK is 27th. Davey, he just went out, did not get an opportunity to turn a lap.
Yeah, well, and Alex mentioned that they had the wing off the back of that car. They were checking some things out, thinking about maybe a gear change. So obviously they found something was going on with that car. And then
Alex is heading towards
so whatever was going on, it looked like all the power was still
Alex
on. I
is
could
heading
see
towards
the wheel
the
of
18
the
pit
car.
to see what the
It
issue
still had
is.
power. I could see the lights on the wheel, but something definitely gave up.
Yeah, so issues for Renus VK. And other than that, we've had a slight brush of the wall by Marcus Erickson. And that may effectively, Davey, bring it into the session for Renus VK. I mean, they're going to roll him off the course anyway, push him behind the wall, but he would have gotten a hold anyway.
Yeah, right. I mean, he had a hold, not much time left of this session. They did take him off the back straightaway just to get the ball rolling again here. Big track. I mean, he was a long ways away, so we're green right now as we see Newgarden heading out of the pits.
I wanted to ask you about the curbing earlier. I mean, we started to address it and then got distracted with the activities of the day. But the one place over the years where it's been a troublesome spot for other forms of motorsports perhaps that have run here is that switchback of the entry to Holman Boulevard.
Yeah.
But over the past couple of years, I think they've made the necessary changes there.
That's right. I think so. That is one that if you hit it head on, you can get airborne. It actually is. Had some of these cars so airborne that it's landed and broken the tubs. I mean, it's been a big ski jump over there, but I agree. They have it better. You want to stay off of it for sure. The rest of the curbing around here is really done so professionally. You could use a lot of it through the S's that it's just rumble strips. There's not a rise, but it chatters you so much that you don't want to run on it. But you can't get in an emergency situation.
I do know that they've widened the race course in some areas. I mean, they put an extension, as we're looking at our multi-screen monitor, a pretty sizable extension going south at the entrance to Holman Boulevard all the way down to that really good passing zone of that left-hander. And I think by and large, with a possible exception of the north end and the south end of the infield portions of this racetrack, there's plenty of room to roam here.
Plenty of room. I mean, it feels so good when you're on this track, because you can tell it's done so nicely, and the design of it, the width of it, the speed of it, it really makes it enjoyable, not just for the drivers but for the fans as well.
I mean, we get wintertime here. It's not as harsh as maybe our neighbors to the north, but the drivers are consistently over the past few years, especially since all the work has been done, very, very complimentary of just how silky smooth this racetrack is.
One thing that the asphalt companies that work here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they know the weather conditions. They know what they have to do on the base. It's not just about the asphalt, but the base of this track to keep it so smooth. And it does amaze me year in, year out. You might find a little bit of a bump, maybe, but most generally it stays the same, very consistent, and you can kind of count on it.
Question would be, when you say consistent, does that mean that the asphalt in the infield portion feels the same as it does on the oval?
Yeah, well, it's, as far as the smoothness. Now, one thing, every year we come here, or any track, you do lose a little bit of grip on the track itself. That asphalt loses some tracks or some grip. But it seems like Firestone always seems to step up and make their tires just a little bit better, and they compensate for that. So it feels like it's the same speed. We may be down just a little bit, on the time of the lap, but very, very little. But like I say, Firestone, they continue to work with every track. They know as it ages what they need to do their tires. And
Alex can
really
update VK.
Let's get an update on Renus VK.
Well, the update on Renus VK is really that there is still some perplexed folks in the 18 pit. They said that they are still trying to diagnose the issue, that just sort of without warning, that 18 car lost power, so they were continuing to try to diagnose it with the car not here in the pit box.
Yeah, and the question would be, Davey, I mean, where do you start chasing to diagnose that? Where would you look first?
Yeah, so really the ECU is probably the first place that you look that controls the engine package, because there was power to the steering wheel. So you got to remember, you know, these cars, when you take the bodywork off, it really honestly is a wiring nightmare. There's wires that go absolutely everywhere in these cars, so it's a huge challenge. But start with the ECU. Sometimes the batteries could be shorted out. Sometimes, which I doubt that that's it, because I did see power to the wheel. But start there and then just work from that point.
We have seen teams, though, chase electrical gremlins and not be able to find them.
If you recall, I think it was Louis Foster in Indy Next at Barber last year. Just the whole weekend was just, you know, there's so, like I said before, there's so many wires in these cars, and for these the wiring guys on these cars, they have to every wire has to be checked to make sure that it's, you know, that it's complete, the flow is complete throughout that wire. And wow, what a job that is when you have a problem.
Less than a minute remaining in this session. We'll get hopefully a word or two from a couple of drivers following this session with Rob and Alex. We can tell you Alex Below continues P1, then Kiffin Simpson, Santino Ferrucci, Nolan Siegel, and Christian Lundgaard. Let's see. Herta is 6th fastest. Kyle Kirkwood 7th. O'Ward is 8th. Power is 9th. Rossi is 10th. Louis Foster 11th. Felix Rosenquist is 12th. Scott Dixon is 13th. David Maluk is 14th. Daly 15th. Rob 16th. 17th Ray Hall. 18th Armstrong. 19th McLaughlin. 20th Marcus Ericsson. Then Newgarden 21st. 22nd Rasmussen. 23rd Ilov. Di Francesco is 24th. 25th is Abel. 26th is Schwartzman. And Renus VK, a late arrival to the course, didn't complete a lap, and they are addressing what the issue was with that race car and hope to be able to track that down as the checkered flag flies. So as we mentioned, with the temperature going up, we think the activity this afternoon for this next session, I think we'll see a different type of activity and much more activity. So, Davey, how will the approach change for these teams and drivers?
Well, I think now that everybody has a balance of their race car, except for Renus VK, basically, and they're going to debrief, kind of say, okay, here's what their car was doing in these conditions. These engineers, they know what to change. They know which direction to go. They'll really be highly prepared for this next session, because it's going to be more like qualifying.
So now, kind of assess the season to this point. Much has been made about the change to the tire compound, and now we're changing the distribution of the tires. We've added laps to races. Do you think, from your perspective, it's added the desired drama and intrigue and made it more compelling and interesting for the fans?
Yeah, I think it's worked, actually. You know, one thing, I did think it's worked. I think that one thing that we need to look at is how competitive these cars are. We have the hybrid system that's still a bit of a question mark for these teams to really try to figure out, honestly. The extra weight has kind of spread them out maybe a little bit because of the weight of it. But our drivers are so good. And I'm going to put to that. Our drivers are so good. There hasn't been a yellow flag since the first lap of the first race. Now, that's 27 guys that haven't made a mistake in any one race throughout this season, and that just blows me away. There hasn't been a yellow in basically 4 complete races, and I think we never really want yellows because of it's tearing something up, or there's an incident, but maybe with the weight of the cars and the spread outs we're getting right now, that wouldn't hurt to have one.
It'll be a few minutes before group number 1 goes out in the split session, and maybe some of those in that second session, as we said, after they do a quick debrief, if they decide to get on the race car, which we think some will, hopefully we can get the thoughts and impressions of a couple of them. I like this format, too, in which you have an all-skate and then you have 2 separate sessions.
And it's not as important here at this particular track as it is the ones that we've been to, for example. The short tracks, the very tight tracks, trying to find that open space, just to see what you have on your own, get clean air. So I do like this. I do like this split session.
What does this place remind you of? I mean, we're always comparing venues one to the other. Is there any place we race that, this is somewhat similar? I mean, one thing's for sure, it's plenty flat like Portland is. I mean, there's not much. There's no elevation changes. You might use a little bit of banking in the south end, but that's about it.
Well, without elevation changes, it's Road America because the speed of it, because of the high-speed corners, and then a few of really low-speed ones. So I have to say that it's kind of a small Road America without the elevation changes to me.
After months-long closure for extensive renovations and upgrades, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum is now open, and now is the time to experience the spectacle of the famed Indy 500 like you've never seen before. Immerse yourself with some of the world's most unique and valuable racing artifacts. Hop in the INDYCAR Racing Simulator. Get your hands on the tools and equipment of the racing trade by competing in a simulated pit stop and tour the track and kiss the bricks. Come experience the history behind the greatest spectacle in racing. Get more info and show your support by becoming a member. Visit imsmuseum.org. You been there yet?
I have not, and that's my bad.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's so when the grand opening, I was so looking forward to going to that grand opening and seeing it all and being with all you guys. And that was media day for Long Beach that I had to go do in
That's
California.
a nice consolation prize.
Yeah, it was a nice consolation prize, but I've done that many times, and I haven't seen the museum yet. And I've heard nothing but absolutely fantastic things. This month, for sure, I'll be going over to see it, but I haven't firsthand seen it.
Well, Joe Hale headed up that effort and did a phenomenal job. Joe has announced he's stepping down. A job well done. It finished on time and under budget, which makes everybody happy.
Wait a minute. Under budget as well? You don't hear that.
Conversations we've had with Kara Covert-Prey and Jason Van Sickle and all of those folks over there, it's been a great relationship, and it's been fun to be up close and personal, and we're happy to say that our network director, Chris Pollack, and I met with Jason and some other folks at the museum earlier this week, and there is an exhibit, Davey, planned for later this year that I think you'll be excited to see, and I know we all are. It's going to pay a tribute to the history of radio and television at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Oh, cool.
There's going to be some cool interactive aspects.
Oh, great. Yeah. One thing I did hear that we didn't hear Carnegie, in there. There was nothing with Carnegie's voice. That's one thing somebody said. We went in there, but we didn't hear Carnegie, which is obviously iconic voice of the Speedway. But I hear that, it's done. It's fantastic, but they're still doing things. There's still work to be done over there. So
no, they're not going to rest on their laurels. And there is there is a rotating exhibit space, and we eventually everyone that has been a valued part of this amazing tapestry will I'm sure be honored, and we look forward to that. We want to thank you for listening to the NTT IndyCar Series today on Sirius XM IndyCar Nation Channel 218. Want more IndyCar radio? Check out our website for links to our podcast, talent bios, and broadcast schedules. Plus, listen to our classic race broadcast. You can go to IndyCarRadio.com, and we will go green in just about a minute. And as we told you a little bit later on today, it's a busy schedule for us. At 11:05 Eastern, we'll have the first practice session for Indy Next, and then at 1:10 this afternoon, the second IndyCar practice session. 2:30 will be Indy Next quals to set the stage for their races this weekend. At 4:30, IndyCar quals with the knockout qualifying format, the Firestone Fast 6. And then the first half of the Indy Next doubleheader will be at 6:55 late this afternoon. Then tomorrow, you got time to sleep in a little bit, but come out and enjoy the racetrack as soon as you can. At 11:30 Eastern time, we'll have the final warm-up session for the NTT IndyCar Series. Then the second half of the doubleheader for Indy Next at 12:55. And then join us at 4 o'clock Eastern for flag-to-flag coverage of the IndyCar race.
Now, one thing that I love about Indianapolis Motor Speedway is the interaction with the kids. We look right now on some of our monitors, all the young kids out here watching today's action and events. And it's always good to get the young generation of kids to come and see what motorsports and racing's all about. And there's hundreds of them around the hillside right now watching.
Well, I mean, if you buy a ticket, you've got 115 and under, they get it free.
Yeah, they get it free. Yeah.
So why not come out and enjoy it? And that's one of the things that we've talked to Doug Bowles about that I think has become kind of the hallmark of the signature. I mean, I've got a number of friends, and quite frankly, they say when they get a little bit older, we're going to bring them to the Indy 500. But, we bring them to the Grand Prix because they can go in the infield to one of the viewing mounds, and the kids can play around on the, watch the race for a while, then play around, and plenty of, room in some of the flex ticket sections in terms of the thing. So this has become, I think, a great place for parents to be able to introduce the next generation of IndyCar fans to the sport and IMS.
Yeah, and it's great. We need to see that with this young generation, and And every time I see, you know, a young kid see one of these cars, just the gleam in their eye, it's pretty cool. And so having them come out to see cars go around here, the speeds they do, and to see the best of the best as the drivers. And, you know, there's always interaction with the drivers as well, which is very, very neat.
Interesting to note about this racetrack, and I think it's tied to what we talked about with the asphalt that they use. I mean, there are some portions of this racetrack. At most tracks that we go to, you can see a pretty pronounced racing groove all the way around the track.
Yeah.
That's a little harder to find here. You do see the rubber built up and stays built up in some of the better passing zones, but other than that, it looks like a fresh green racetrack.
Yeah, it really does. And you look, it actually, you know, kind of does the opposite on this racetrack. It almost looks like a white line instead of a red. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, a black line through the corner sometimes. So oh, we got a red flag. Just on pit in somebody, it's one of the Sirius XM cars.
One of the XM cars, Yeah, the 66 cars.
So that's going to be Marcus, right?
Yep, Marcus Armstrong,
Yep. So it looks like no harm. They're either just pulled off. Looks like something came to a close, which you'll have to have a 5-minute hold for bringing the red out as well.
So all in all, been a pretty good season for Marcus Armstrong. Has a top 10. He's led 10 laps. A little disappointed in his 17th place finish at Barber, but finished 11th here in 2023 and had a top 5 a year ago. I think he's a driver we've talked about earlier this season, Davey. It's not a matter of if he wins a race, it's when.
Yeah, you know, and I think he's got a really good home over there. I think him and Rosenquist seem like they really work well together. That Shank team, I really respect them a lot. They've won this race with Elio, and I just have a good feeling about him that he's going to be a driver who gets it done. Now, he's a small guy. He's a very small guy. These cars aren't easy to drive. I kind of feel like he was in that position for a while going, oh, man, I need to get stronger. You know, I'm not saying that that's the case, but every time I see a really small stature guy, sometimes they get maybe a little more tired than the bigger guys, for example, like Newgarden or somebody.
In 34 career starts, he's had 14 top 10s.
Yeah, no, he's very good. He's one that is fun to watch.
Find out more about what the issue might be with the 66 machine from Alex Wolff.
And for Marcus Armstrong, the Myers-Shank team, they were getting a warning about low voltage with the hybrid unit. So the team proactively told Marcus to just shut the car off and get it towed back so
Blackman
they can check
Mike
things.
Hull.
Now we have go down the pit lane, do a Rob Blackman.
Yeah, let's visit with Mike Hull, not only the managing director for Chip Ganassi Racing, but also looks over that Scott Dixon car, has their strategist. What can we glean, if anything, Mike, from these first few minutes of this morning session?
Well, we were one of the teams that tested here, so we, first of all, I don't know if we have a leg up, but at least we have a good start here. 2 of our cars were at the front there in that first session, which was promising, certainly. I think what the fans want to see are people on the racetrack. With the tire allotment and the way the tires work for the racetrack, you kind of have to work backwards from the last lap of the race to the first lap of practice. So I think people will be a little guarded with that as we go through the weekend, just to make sure they have the right tires for the race. But all in all, it's great to be at Indianapolis. That's really, for us, the main thing.
Can you expand on that a little bit? We've talked to some others along pit road this morning that, yes, with the new tire rules in place for this weekend, it does make it a little tricky, especially with this early morning session in the tire allotment, yes?
Well, I think there should have been some foresight into the tire allotment, but that's probably beside the point. The reality is that all of us have the same rules, the same tires, and we'll make good use out of it. And in terms of Firestone, they do a great job with the tires, frankly, and they're certainly challenged with what we're doing here, just like we are. So we'll get the most out of it.
Mike, thank you. Have a great weekend.
Oh, thank you very much.
Great insight from Michael, and I think he's interesting to note that this is how they figure the tire strategy.
Yeah.
They go from the last lap of the race, and they work backward, and expressed a little bit of frustration there with how the tire allotment is handled. And I think ultimately, Davey, what it boils down to is that I think the drivers want to take full advantage of the track activity and the time spent.
Yeah.
But they've got to do so judiciously at this point in a manner that makes sense.
Well, one thing with Mike, he knows the most important thing, and the most important thing is to win the race. So that's why he counts backwards for the race. Now, I've always done that, basically, on the race side of it, just on the race weekend. But, doing it from the, just another learning curve, really. You do it from this first practice session. I think Michael has been there. He's done it. He knows the stuff. I'm watching Stingray Rob. He's a waving guy today. He's waving people in the grandstand. He's waving right now in the pits, on the cameras. He feels like waving around today. He's a happy guy today.
AMR IndyCar safety team continues to pour over the car of Marcus Armstrong. I don't know if they're attempting to get him refired or what.
No, they're not. So what happened is they're pulling him in there. Now, one thing, when they went to pull him away, I seen a big plume of smoke. That tells me that maybe that hybrid unit shorted. Something happened as they started to pull him. They stopped. They got him out of the car. They took the nose off. They got it up on they were just going to tow him in. Now they got him on a wrecker, lifted the car in the air. So something electrical, remember the situation.
Yeah, it's up off the ground now.
Yeah, it's something going on there. I'm going to stretch and say it's a hybrid unit, but we don't know until they tell us.
I can tell you that because they're guaranteed the full 12-minute allotment of time here in this session, the clock hasn't stopped.
Yeah.
So they're not burning track time here for these teams.
Yeah, so they got, like I say, they got him out of the car. They got him lifted, but they did tow him. But right as they started pulling him, like smoke came out of the back of that car. It's like electrical, like some kind of smoke came out of there, and I thought that was really strange and didn't think much about it. And then they pulled him another 15 feet and stopped. So something went on there for sure.
We talked a little bit with a couple of drivers earlier about the significance of momentum. I mean, ideally, I guess you would want that to start with a good performance at Barber Motorsports Park, as we're a minute away from going back to green. And now certainly you want to use this weekend to gain momentum, although Alex Palou says in terms of on-track performance of the car, it's a vastly different animal and may not always translate. But bottom line is this: in order to feel good about yourself and the direction that you're going, you would want to do well this weekend.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's back to where we just started the show off, is momentum. And if you can get it and you get the confidence, doesn't matter what track you are. And really, honestly, I think I still see Stingray waving at people going down pit lane. He is a happy guy today. He's a waving guy. But I think momentum is just so key. As a driver, when you have that, especially Palou, when you got Barry Wanzer that you're so tied in. And we've seen it time and time again with engineers, with people calling the race, the drivers, everybody, that they have that tight-knit thing and it just is working. And, man, there's nothing better than that. And you get that going, man. It's you take advantage of it, that's for sure.
In terms of the on-off, the entrance and then the exit, is this the longest pit lane that they'll tackle throughout the course of the
I'm going to say it absolutely is the longest. Now, back to what this track kind of compares to is Road America. It also is very long because you come up that hill. It's
uphill,
it's a pretty long one as well. But, yeah, this is a very long pit lane.
So, Callum Eilert, Nolan Siegel, Marcus Ericsson, Scott McLaughlin, Alex Palou, and Pato O'Ward are among those in this group. We'll give you the rest of that grouping now. It looks like, McLaughlin, Eilert, Palou, Ericsson, O'Ward, Siegel, Armstrong, Abel, Rob Foster, Malukas, Rasmussen, Kirkwood, Renus VK, and looks like maybe
Schwartzman, yeah, I think I just seen him pull out there. A lot of them with no times yet, including Armstrong, Malukas, Rasmussen, Kirkwood, VK. VK, now, I think he came back out on pit lane. If they can get that car, he still had a 5-minute hold, right, which means it goes into this session. Still gives him 7 minutes to go if they could find that problem.
So where do you want to be fastest here? We talk about that each and every track.
Yeah, I think this is no different than any other road course, and that is the exit of the straightaways going into passing zones. So coming on this front straightaway, this final corner, going down this long front straightaway, hammer down. Make sure you don't have to lift on that corner coming on, which is not easy to do. It looks pretty easy, but it's not easy to go flat out through that corner to come on this front straightaway. Same thing, going to that little switchback on Homan Boulevard, I think is very, very key. Those are the two best. Get fast on those exits.
I'm guessing with the lack of elevation changes and the fact that they don't really have any really tight corners, that pretty easy on the brakes all in all here.
Yeah,
you still wear on them.
You still wear on them because turn one, you use a lot of brake down into turn one. It seems like turn four, it takes a bit of brake. and then, you know, going into that museum corner, coming back in the infield, that's pretty hard brakes right there. But that's the only spots. They have plenty of time to cool.
When you set up a race car, a lot of times one corner of that car is the one that you want to take the most care of. So, I mean, is it the right rear, left front, or right front?
Yeah, so right now it's always the rear of the car. You know, you don't want the back end to be loose where you can't get traction down. So on this particular road course, it would be that left rear because the lot of right-hand corners on this facility. So take care of that right rear. See a little smoke. We talked about cars going off track every now and then to learn their braking points. One of the Java House cars, I think that might be Ross. Is he in this one? Or no, it's Rasmussen that went off. But take care of that tire, because if you can't do power down in the back, you're always chasing the back, whether it's under braking or acceleration, you have no speed. If the front gives away a little bit under understeer, you can still use that speed and grip to try to be fast.
And fans might be wondering, Davey, in terms of how the car is set up, why when you see a driver climb on the binders like he did, why is the smoke pronounced off the right front but not off the left?
Well, just because he's getting ready to go into a right-hand corner. So that's as you turn right, it takes the weight off that corner and puts it on the left side of the car. So, and then you're on the brake hard. So that's the lightest tire on the car at that point. Just gets a little bit of smoke. Now, he has a brake bias adjuster in there. He could put a little more rear brake in the car, take some front brake out of that car. And there's other things you can do. For example, you could actually, if you have a driver really likes a lot of front brake, but is locking them up a little bit, you could put different compound pads in the fronts to the rear to try to fix that.
And there are teams that throughout the course of a practice day will work on those rotors and pads quite a bit.
Yeah, as we see, Schwartzman go off course right there, looks like. No, that's Ilott, actually. Off course, back on. The Prima team, you know, let's talk about them just 1 second. They're new. They're really doing, their cars look great, their hospitality, their garage, everything. They're really doing it first class, spending a lot of money to try to have the right stuff. But it's hard. Yeah, let's just face it. It's very hard. A first-year team like this, getting everybody to mesh properly, getting everybody to do what they're supposed to do or know what they're supposed to do. So as good as it looks, they have no sponsors basically on the car. It's all self-funded by some wealthy people.
In the wrong pick box, bump him up.
Yeah, it's close.
Would you like to see maybe that race team, when a new team comes in and makes the financial commitment that they've made with the hospitality, and as you say, maybe get an extra test date or two to get them up to speed?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Not only the team as a new team like that, but these rookie drivers. I really feel they need more track time. You're really throwing them to the wolves sometimes. I know once they get to this level, they're professionals, but to keep up with the Pelots and the Powers and the New Gardens and these guys, and there's many more. You know what I mean? I'm leaving a lot of guys out, and I'm not discrediting just those are fast because they're McLaughlins. I mean, I can go on and on. But to be a rookie to come in this series, I just think it's fair, and I don't think anybody would complain if they had a few extra days of testing just to try to help them out.
So 4.5 minutes remaining in this session, and Alex Palou continues to show the fast way. He just went to P1. It's Palou, Foster, Award, Kirkwood, Erickson, Siegel, then McLaughlin, then Robb, then Rasmussen, then Abel, then Callum Ilott, and David Malukas have all turned laps here. And Davey, I don't see any indication that anybody has decided to go with any alternates in this set.
Yeah, no, that's right. They're all on the primaries at this point. I think that we won't maybe see them in this first group. I think that maybe the second, because I think they allowed them to keep them through the second practice as well, and wait till the temperatures are more conducive to qualifying.
Yeah, that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Blackman with a note.
For sure. Let's get an update from the pits from Rob Blackman.
Well, to follow up on that, gentlemen, here at the south end of pit lane, really 12, 13, 14 or so pit stalls, just kind of asking around the different race teams, and to exactly the point Davey Hamilton is making, don't look for any alternate reds here in this morning session. It's just what Davey was talking about. They would prefer to save them for later this afternoon, when indeed the temperatures will be more race-like certainly for Saturday, but more importantly, will be more conducive to having a better qualifying run later this afternoon. So it's exactly what Davey's talking about. The reason we haven't seen any red alternate tires here this morning, that is by design.
That goes to Mike Hull's point about starting with the last lap, working
backwards. Yeah, and that's amazing that he does it for the weekend. That's a new one. I mean, you're always learning, right? I mean, like I say, I've always done it for the race, start the last lap, work your way forward. A lot of people still don't do that strategy, and that's one thing that Rick Gallis taught me years and years ago, and that's how we always went about it. And now you do it for the entire weekend, which really makes a lot of sense, especially for the Indy 500, because, Mark, if we have good weather that entire week, you can really burn through some tires. And so you really got to prepare yourself, because qualifying, you can eat up some tires for all the simulated runs you're going to do and all the runs you may have to do if you're struggling or if you're good, because you're going to continue to go out there and continue try to drive your way to the front.
Palou, Foster, Award, Kirkwood, and Erickson the top five. Palou looks like minute 12, 8-4-2, and check that. It's 69.979 for Alex Palou, and then Foster, then Award, then Kirkwood and Erickson. Malukas, Siegel, McLaughlin, Robb, Rasmussen through 10th. Abel is 11th. Eilot is 12th. VK is 13th. He's turned one lap in this session, and to give you an idea of the gap as it stands, Davey, Palou is at a 69.979. Callum Eilot, 12th fastest, is at a 1:11.633.
Yeah, right. So, it's not a huge spread, but only one in the 109 bracket is Palou. Everybody else is the 110s all the way down to that 9th place, and then it goes to the 111s with Rasmussen, Abel, Eilot, and VK. Oh, VK actually just got there. He was a 114, so that car seems to be just as we talk about that, he does him a nice little 360, continues on, and keeps on going.
It's like he meant to do it.
Yeah, it's a good showman. Now, you can be a stunt driver right there.
Are you the ultimate IndyCar fan? Then join the Ultimate Fan Club and become a member of IndyCar Nation. Get weekly newsletters to your inbox and take advantage of exclusive track experiences at each race weekend. Plus, you can get discounts on merchandise and race tickets. Go to IndyCar.indycar.com to join. And you're going to go look at the replay.
Turning in, that museum corner we continue to talk about, it just got loose. He had this minimum speed up, that's really key on road courses. My son's finding that out, doing testing on road courses now. It's minimum speed in the corners, and that's any kind of racing. But he had it up, but the back of that car just came around as he picked the throttle up. It spun, got in the grass, did a 360, and continued on. So that obviously didn't help that lap at all, so he'll adjust for that, and they'll know where he's at. So I'm not sure where Dale Coyne's cars have finished on the road course here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but he going through that corner a lot better this time, made it through cleanly. We'll see what kind of lap time maybe. We already went by the timeline. I forgot it's over by the museum, so it'll be the next time by.
So Renus VK, Davey, I think is going to be anxious, and that team will be anxious to get to that 1 o'clock session this afternoon.
Yeah.
Because quite frankly, they haven't found out much with all the issues that they've had.
Yeah, he'll have a total of 3 laps in for this whole session this morning. So at least they have some opportunity to look at the data and see what the car's doing. Obviously, he can give them some good feedback, and so he'll be one of the ones really looking forward to this afternoon.
Well, Felix Rosenqvist currently finds himself 6th in points. He's had a couple of top 5s and 3 top 10s. He started 14th, finished 13th at Barber Motorsports Park. He's been on pole here 2022. He has 4 top 10s in his 7 starts. And again, one of those guys we'd be talking more about if it wasn't for the unbelievable start by Alex Palou. But we talked to Felix Rosenqvist a little bit earlier this week about how deep this NTT IndyCar Series field is.
It seems like every weekend is like a completely new challenge this year. I think the package seems very different as well. It seems like, some teams and drivers struggle a lot on certain tracks, and it's just been amplified this year, I think. So the you just have to reset and, start fresh almost every weekend, it feels like. And it's super tough right now. It's super tough to be in the top 10, man. It's like you need a pretty damn good weekend. So, keep it rolling. We've been off to a good start, and this track I normally like, so I think we're looking pretty good.
Yeah, as we mentioned, he feels pretty confident, and a lot of people happy for Felix Rosenqvist, Davey. I mean, there were about a 1 or 2 year period there where things were not a lot of fun for him. His future was a little uncertain, and he seems to have found a home at Meyershank.
You know, I have to go back a ways, but he arrived here, and I'm going to say it was with Bellardi in the Indy Next series, and he got in that car and just dominated. I mean, just right off the bat, just was dominant, and so fast right off the get-go when he showed up to the series. I thought, wow, who is this guy? And then even he told us he thought he was just going to get the Indy cars and do the exact same thing, but learn real quick how difficult the Indy cars are, how competitive the drivers are. And he said he just learned so much over these years, and now he thinks he's got to handle it.
Barber was his 100th start, and he's had 44 top 10s.
Yeah.
Really solid driver, Felix Rosenqvist. Let's go to Rob Blackman.
Yeah, let's talk to David Malukas of AJ Foyt Racing. David, what are we able to glean from this morning session, and really maybe more specifically this first session you had to go out with in the split group, where maybe you had a little bit more clean air and some racing opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, we tested here obviously a few weeks back, and the test went really well, but for some reason today the car is just at a very different state than what it was. So we kind of need to make sure we look at everything and have everything correct, because it was a very different car for us today. But definitely a lot to learn off of. We need to find quite a bit of time, so we're going to have our heads down here. Thankfully, it looked like our teammate Santino was pretty quick, so we have some good data to look at.
Mother Nature affecting anything with those extra cool temperatures here this morning, or do you think maybe that's not part of it?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's cool temperatures, and we're going to be a lot more running until qualifying today. So we're also going to have to kind of be on point with where track progression is going to be. I think the car that we have right now is more suited for quality and not really for the practice this morning. So something to look into.
David, thanks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Interesting to note, Davey, the significance of testing. And we talked about how it might benefit Prema if they had an opportunity to testing it. But it doesn't always translate once you get to the race.
No, you know, and that's one thing, that one car was fast, which his teammate was fast, but he wasn't. So they'll go back on that pad. They'll find something, you know. And you got to remember they have an alliance with the Penske team as far as, technical alliance. So the campers basically and some setup information. I think with you mentioned the cooler temperatures make a difference, and absolutely they do make a difference. So I have a feeling they'll go back, they'll find a little something that wasn't set quite right, come back out this afternoon and be fine.
Clock has started. Next group features Will Power, Colton Herta, Christian Lundgaard, Joseph Newgarden, Kiffin Simpson, Connor Daly, Alexander Rossi, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, Devlin DiFrancesco, Santino Ferrucci, Felix Rosenqvist, Robert Schwartzman, and Louis Foster.
Also Abel is in this one.
It's not really the Will Power Invitational, but we will say this. In 16 starts here, he has 5 wins, 6 poles, 12 times he's been in the top 10, 8 times he's been in the top 5, and 11 times he's been in the Firestone top 6.
Wow. Yeah, it is amazing, right? I mean, and this would be a good one for him right now. He hasn't been where he wants to be. He wants to win some races again. He wants to continue that pole streak. He has more than anybody else, and so this could be the track he could pull that off. But as we've talked to there's not one driver that doesn't want to win the Indy 500, but it seems like he's pretty darn hungry to try to get in victory lane.
He's 9th in points and 100 points behind Alex Palou.
I know, isn't that something?
9th in points and 100 points back. It's crazy.
It is.
Well, speaking of drivers having dominant seasons, there's a driver in Indy Next that is doing just that out of the gate. And with more on that and a preview of a busy weekend for that series, Nick Yeoman joins us.
Yeah, Mark, how does a full day of action sound to you with Indy Next practice, qualifying, and a race all in one day sound? That's what we're going to do today later here on IndyCar Radio. Indy Next by Firestone. They'll take to the racetrack for their first practice session at 11:05 Eastern Time, and then we'll go qualifying for not one, but 2 races, doubleheader weekend for Indy Next by Firestone. Qualifying coming up at 2:30 Eastern Time, 6:55 for race number 1. So we're going to race the sun later this afternoon for race number 1. But you talked about it, 2 races into the championship, and it is most certainly the Dennis Hauger show, as he has been perfect so far in all the practice sessions, all the qualifying sessions, and in both races, putting that 28 car for Andretti Global P1, a dominant win at Barber Motorsports Park, winning from pole. Also had some good stories emerge from last weekend. Mark Evagor's Papasavas in his debut weekend, he finished on the podium with a second-place finish. He's back this weekend racing. And then Lockie Hughes, the reigning USF Pro 2000 champion, he has been nipping at the heels of Hauger with a second and third place finish to start the season. But I think we have all been pretty surprised and blown away by how this Norwegian driver Dennis Hauger has done in 2 races. We'll see if anybody can knock him off his perch at the top of this sport, but it's going to take a lot, because he's been consistently 2-3 tenths faster than everybody, no matter where we've gone.
I mean, no disrespect to Hauger and his unbelievable start, but I think Papasavas had to be the story of the weekend, Nick, because that deal wasn't even announced until earlier in the week.
Yeah, I mean, that's a young man who has risen up the ranks in the USF championships and put together really a late-minute deal to jump in a race car with some drivers moving around to different teams and to different series, and he jumped in a car and was pretty in Indy Next by Firestone. But right now, it's everybody chasing Andretti Global and Dennis Hauger in Indy Next by Firestone.
What I find fascinating, and it's really feel good for us, because we have the opportunity to visit with our good friend Rob Howden and talk about some of those series that run below them, some of them that are here this weekend, like the Pro 2000s and whatnot. But we're getting to the point, Nick Yeoman, we've been doing this long enough. I don't know if it means we're old or not, but we're starting to see the NTT INDYCAR series field made up of a majority of the drivers that we followed their career. We'll talk more about that with Nick in just a moment after we hear from Rinus VK.
Well, Rinus seemed like quite an eventful practice session. And what were some of the issues they were dealing with the 18 car?
Yeah, we're not totally sure what the issue was. We lost a lot of track time, so we only got a 35-minute session coming up in this afternoon before qualifying, so definitely not ideal. But I am confident that the 18 crew will find the issue, get me back running, and give me a car that I can go quick with, just like a Barber. So I'm not worried, but just a bit bummed by missing out this time.
I know they just had a little bit of time on the track, as you said, but what the conditions seem like, because they seem tricky with a little bit of wind at times picking up in the cold temperatures.
Yeah, it was. You could feel the wind, but we set the car down. We just ran. I got a feel of the car, something, and even though it was only 3 or 4 laps, I think we can make adjustments to the car, make changes to make it quicker for practice too.
Well, we appreciate your time. We'll see you later today.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's good stuff from Rinus VK. Power, Rossi, Lundgaard, Dixon, Newgard in the top 5, then Daly, Simpson, Rahal, Herta, Abel through 10th, and then DeFrancesco and Rosenquist with just under 6 minutes remaining in the session. A couple of more thoughts from Nick Yeoman, what we were talking about before we heard from Rinus VK. The NTT IndyCar Series roster, as we look at timing and scoring, a lot of these drivers we have seen come up through this system. Clearly, it's a format that's doing what it's designed to do.
Yeah, I appreciate Alex grabbing that interview, because it gave me a chance to do the math, Mark, and it is 16 of the 27 drivers in the field this weekend for the Sancio Grand Prix are drivers that have experience in Indy Next by Firestone. So it's been a great proving and training ground for these drivers. They get to race on all the same tracks as IndyCar on race weekends. You get to establish those relationships with the car owners who eventually could employ you. And then certainly for guys like Dennis Hauger, they're going to catch the attention, because everybody's watching Indy Next races when they're not in the cars working on those machines in IndyCar. So it has been a great proving ground, and not just for the drivers, Mark, but some of the teams, some of the crews that have moved up over the years as well, cutting their teeth and getting that experience needed in Indy Next by Firestone.
I've likened this to like going to a game at Yankee Stadium and seeing their AA and AAA teams play as well.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a glimpse into the future of the sport. I mean, guys like Joseph Newgarden, Pato O'Ward, even Scott Dixon a long time ago, ran in the lower rung in Indy Next by Firestone. Recent graduates, of course, Kyle Kirkwood, the winner at Long Beach earlier this year. Guys like Christian Rasmussen, Louis Foster, who are rising up the ranks as well, all started in Indy Next by Firestone to get their feet wet and get an experience of open wheel racing here in America.
One more time, your schedule for the weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy one. Practice qualifying race today. Practice is at 11:05 Eastern, 2:30 for qualifying, 6:55 later this evening for race number 1, and then we'll get things started here on IndyCar Radio. I shouldn't say that. After the IndyCar warm-up on Saturday, 12:55 Eastern Time, of course, leading up to the Sancio Grand Prix right here at IMS.
Looking forward to it. Going to be a busy weekend for all of us, and there's no place else we'd rather do that. So Davey Hamilton, with about 3.5 minutes remaining in the session, it appears as though that Rinus VeeKay is looking into the same crystal ball that we are looking into, saying that 35-minute session this afternoon is going to be a busy.
Yeah, how about that? Good run for Rossi right now in that ECR car. Will Power second. Simpson back to really good run for that Ganassi driver in that third spot. And no surprise, but Lundgaard, our second place points in the standings right now, sits in that fourth spot.
So drivers that had good weekends at Barber Motorsports Park beside Alex Palou, Christian Lundgaard, Scott McLaughlin finishes out the podium. We talked about Rinus VeeKay. Will Power was able to grab a 5th spot. Pato O'Ward, Herta, Rossi, Nolan Siegel with a 9th place finish. Joseph Newgarden completed the top 10. Some struggles last weekend for Connor Daly, Marcus Ericsson. Others toward the bottom of the timing and scoring grid. Graham Rahal finished in the 14th position, and the worst finish of the season for Felix Rosenqvist. He finished
13th, yeah, had some issues there as well. Right now we're looking at the timing chart back to the same drivers, DeFrancesco. It really seems to be struggling this weekend. Abel, we talked about him, has got that Mecum auction and on the car for this weekend, and the Miller High Life for the 500. Graham Rahal, the other Rahal car, in that 11th spot. Seems like they're struggling to find speed here at IMS on this road course. Connor Daly in that 10th spot. Still need to find speed that Uncos car as well.
Early on in his career, Graham Rahal had plenty of success here. 16 starts at this track, 13 times he's finished in the top 10. He's finished in the top 5 times. By the way, he's a 3-time runner-up, is Graham Rahal. And believe it or not, Graham Rahal's no longer the kid. I mean, he's closing in on 300 IndyCar Series starts.
That's right. Well, one thing that 300, wow. One thing I say is about 4 years ago, I really think he was in place to win the Indy 500. I think that he really had put himself in the right position. And then they had a pit mistake and went down into warm-up lane to come back on track and had a tire come off and took him out of that running. But I think that team, that strategy, his speed, put him aligned to win that race. And I think the very next year he doesn't even make the race. So that's how this
been a struggle for him the last 2 years.
Yeah, that's right.
The race, quite frankly, and going to be interesting to see. I mean, they made it very, very clear there was a lot of work to have been done in the off season. Obviously, they shuffled their driver lineup a little bit, and Graham Rahal is now joined by Devlin DeFrancesco and Lee Foster, but I think he's going to benefit from having Takuma Sato as a teammate.
Yeah, no, well, Takuma, hey, how about that? Let's talk about that open test that we had. He had the fastest single lap with no tow, which means that's like you're in a qualifying run. No draft to help you. 2:32, Mark. Unfortunately, he didn't make it through turn 1.
Right.
The second lap, and he crashed that car. But what that does tell me, hey, they have a really fast race car. You know, I mean, I felt like they found something there for the 500. Seems like they're going to have good race cars for that event.
As I recall, the debrief from him was kind of similar to
Blackman has Stingray Rob.
Remember that run? We'll talk more about the run where something similar happened to Sebastian Bourdais a few years ago.
Yeah, that's right. Sure.
Let's go to Rob Blackman.
And let's visit with Stingray Rob. At least in the morning session, it feels like you're the people's champion, waving, enjoying the fans out here this morning. You seem to be loving life today, brother.
Yeah, it's a good day. The weather's beautiful. We're at a racetrack.
Speaking of weather and Mother Nature, cool temperatures this morning. How did that affect not only what you did this morning, but more importantly, looking ahead to qualifying this afternoon?
We were here for the team test earlier this year, and it was about the same temperature. So for us, it wasn't too surprising. It's a bit chilly. I had to wear a bigger coat. But other than that, we didn't have to change too much. I think this afternoon, when we see temperatures rise, it does the typical stuff. We'll see what the cars are like. But we're still working on a few things for the chassis setup, trying to get that right so that we can get a good car going for qualifying.
I saw when you were finished here, you had a long visit with Richard Uncos here on the pit stand. Obviously, I don't want you to give away any secrets, but what ultimately are you guys talking about to help you be at your best later this afternoon?
I mean, all the secrets, right? That's what's helping us around here. This is our road course package third outing this year with Thermal Club, Barber, and then here. And we're just trying to evolve that, follow trends, see which direction we can go. It's a slightly different tire, so that plays a role in it. But we're just talking about, what's the big picture, what direction do we need to go a little bit. And this morning we made some changes based off the test that we thought might help and things we didn't get to there. And so, we're just talking through those, making sure that I'm doing the things I need to in the car to give them the best chance to go fast.
Stingray, thanks. Good luck later today.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff from Stingray Robb as the checker has come out on the session. Alexander Rossi moves to P1 at the close of it. Graham Rahal moves to second fastest. Then Herta, then Power. Connor Daly fifth fastest.
Yeah.
Rosenquist, Foster Simpson, Lundgaard, Dixon, Newgarden, DeFrancesco, and Abel Davies. So an interesting mix at the top.
Yeah, mix it all around there a little bit. Dixon, a little surprising. Simpson did fall down to that 8th spot.
Copy
I'm
that.
just still
I'm
surprised with
waiting
Dixon.
with,
Not
Herta
that
and
much
Power
speed.
to see who
Newgarden,
gets
we
out
talked
first.
about him earlier. Just not the speed that we're used to seeing out of that 2 car out of that Penske group. And Ferrucci didn't get any time. Not sure what happened there, along with Schwartzman as well. 2 cars didn't get any time, but all that section.
So Rossi, let's see, he turned it in a minute 10 at 3:22, and I believe Pillow was in the minute 9 range.
He was. He was the only car so far in the minute 9 range.
Yeah. So what's going to be different this afternoon? What's the focus going to be? We're going to see alternates in qualifying sim.
Yeah, I think for sure. Yeah, we're going to see the alternates out. They'll get ready for qualifying. They'll go do a debrief. They know the conditions are going to be just a little bit warmer, a little bit different. I think it's going to be better for the tires for sure to get a little bit more grip. So yeah, they'll just wait and I think be quicker.
But the question is, if all 27 are out there together, how tough is it going to be to get a good?
Yeah, this track does allow you to spread out a little bit more to get some free time, but it is going to be difficult because you got to split it. You got to get out there just at the right time to try to get some good laps. But I do feel there'll be enough drivers out there doing qualifying sims where they're only going to do a few laps here and there to where you could find some open track.
I do find it interesting that these
Power
drivers
waved me off.
always mentioned that how fortunate they are to test here, but it's always funny when they bemoan the fact that what they did in the test doesn't always transfer here. There's so many variables involved in that, though.
Yeah, and when you have the test time, and they do allow some that's kind of what we call open testing, kind of choose where you go. And then if you go to a facility and the weather happens to be bad, or it's not the right tire for that track and they're going to change it, or something just doesn't go your way, it's always a bummer. And it seems like conditions are somewhat the same this morning, but it is going to change for this afternoon.
Alex Wolf.
Colton, real quick before you debrief with the team, how the car feel in those cool conditions?
It felt great. I made a mistake on my lap, so we should be a lot better than that. But it seems like Gamertron is fast right now, so keep it rolling.
All right, we'll have them debrief with this team. Colton Herta gets on the pit stand of the 26.
Third fastest in that session, and we are not done, not by any stretch. It is a busy day here in just about 10 minutes or so, 11:05 Eastern Time. On at 6:55 this afternoon. For the whole gang, this is Bart James saying so long from now from the world's greatest race course, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.